Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Every part of comics and artwork is a form of communication with other people. It's not just a, here, let me direct my thoughts at you as a dictation of concept, but it's hoping to convince you of how cool you think a visual could be or a story could be. And you're trying to communicate ideas in one part storytelling and greater part just graphic impact. You're hoping to relate a sense of energy, urgency, and enthusiasm to people. That there's a lightning of spirit that comes out of superheroes that has always worked for me. That it isn't really about the practicality of what they might do. It's not the practicality about grown men punching each other in costumes. It really isn't about that. It's a visual metaphor. And that metaphor could be for a lot of things, but it's mostly just about the energy and enthusiasm that can be found in the fun of life.
Ironside will not be seen tonight, so we may bring you the following special program.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's time for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I am so glad that Howard Chaykin is laughing at the fact that we are interrupting Ironside to bring in a special broadcast.
I mean, the only thing that would be more fun than interrupting Ironside would be interfering with Ironside in that original classic. You know, the definition of interference in the context of molestation. I think we've just. And again, that was easily the most fucked up introduction of I'm having such a shitty week, and this is
I'm sorry.
This is elevating my mood profoundly.
Oh, I'm so Howard. That delights me. You know that. Honestly, this has been my obsession. Thank God for YouTube, because they have all of those terrible variety shows that would interrupt the television schedule in the '60s, and that is now my obsession: is finding. Just the Kraft Music Hall will not be presented tonight, so we may bring you. And it's like, I literally look for those. I edit that, and it's like, I want that 5 seconds to start my show. This is what I do. So, wow, greetings from Italy. Very nice. Good to see everybody. How you doing? And others are laughing as well. This is good. And I don't know if you saw Derek Donovan joining us. Fine artist. So, excellent, man. Well, we're here today to not just to entertain Howard with broadcast interruptions.
That's all you're here for.
This is true. That's true.
Stand up otherwise. No. Okay.
We are going to talk because we're only midstream on Hey Kids Comics. Issues 1 and 2 have only recently come out. Issue 2 came out last Wednesday. But yeah, man, I'm glad the series is back. And again, the overarching line there, you can see it's called Profit and Loss. So that's cool. Howard's going to answer a phone call. I understand. It's all right.
Fuck those guys.
Oh, okay. It's all right.
You count.
God bless you, son. It's all good. You know. But yeah, all right. Look at this. Cassie Comics. Chaykin is here. It's party time. Jack Naples does not want to watch Ironside anyway. How can you turn down a procedural with Raymond Burr? Come on. The Iron Duchess, as they called him.
Oh, John.
Oh no, come on, that's out there. It's okay. God bless him.
But John, you know, you
come on, man.
Oh,
no, I think.
I mean, I'm almost annoyed at the fact that you're raising my mood, because I've been sort of wallowing in despair and shit. You know. Oh,
that's
you know,
good.
There's nothing like the arrogance of shame. You know. You know. Oh
God. So we were talking, man. You were filling me with interesting stories about the musical Damn Yankees as we were getting ready to go on, which is awesome.
it's so comic book related. I mean, well,
Oh,
I hate to say this, but I'm far more influenced. Many years ago, I was in London. I was at a show at Bristol in the UK, and I spent the day in London. I came up to London, spent the night at a hotel that I could no longer afford. Back in my television career, when I was making obscene money working on utter crap, I was at this hotel, it's a phenomenal hotel. It really is. It's fabulous. And I'm sitting in the lobby. We got there a little early, and there's a woman checking in at the desk who was a major executive who I'd met years earlier when she had been a lowly intern and had done coverage on Black Kiss for Joel Silver. No bullshit. She was now an Ann Taylor coordinates dressed, just didn't pretended not to know me, which was great. And I'm sitting. My wife's outside, and I'm sitting next to this older guy. I look over, and it's Stephen Sondheim.
wow.
Yeah, and he's there. I'm assuming he was there for Tim. What's his name's Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know how some of you people get when you meet Steranko and listen to his self-mythologizing bullshit. I'm there with Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah.
Right? And I turned to him. He's not someone who I get the impression is particularly fond of people, much like me. And I said, Mr. Sondheim, my name is Howard Chaykin. I'm a comic book artist of some regard and some renown. And unlike most of my colleagues who are deeply influenced by professional wrestling, I'm profoundly influenced by the musical theater, and I hate my mother too. And I got a laugh, and it was worth the day. I mean, it was just like I got all tingly. He laughed and then ignored me, so that was okay. But yeah. So I mean, musical theater is a huge influence on the way I think about comics, because in the same way that in comics, fight scenes as depicted in the superhero books, which Alex Ross told us in the introduction we should have more respect for. Sorry, Alex. Are outward demonstrations of inner trauma. So in musicals, the breaking into song is the equivalent of those fight scenes that happen in comic books. People who have an aversion to that, who insist on mistaking realism for verisimilitude, are missing what I regard as one of the great affects of the American arts. And I don't love musicals unequivocally and unconditionally. I mean, there's a lot of them I truly hate. I'm not a movie. It's taken me years to learn to appreciate movie musicals. I've never liked movie musicals. I like live performance. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the movie musicals that I actually love unequivocally and unconditionally are the first 20 minutes of Absolute Beginners, Little Shop of Horrors, and Hairspray. Adam Shankman. I mean, I saw Hairspray on stage, the musical, with the second cast. I saw it with what's his name, Michael McKean.
Oh wow!
In the part that had been created by Harvey Fierstein on stage and Divine on movies, and what's his name? Oh shit! The other guy from Bosom Buddies, Peter Scolari.
Yeah, Peter Scolari. Sure. Yeah.
Taking over Dick Latessa. And I loved it. I thought it was fabulous. I really did. I mean, everything about it was a brilliant production. And I thought that Adam Shankman did a pretty astonishing transliteration of it. It's also the movie, speaking of the comic book connection, that made me appreciate how good James Marsden was. Marsden played Corny Collins. I didn't.
Oh wow!
The Cyclops, the shit coming out of his eyes heroes.
Yeah. But yeah, Corny Collins, for people who don't know, basically the Dick Clark character in Hairspray. Essentially, right. Yeah,
right. And he was fantastic.
That's really interesting. Wow, I wouldn't expect that. That's very interesting.
Oh, you haven't seen the film version?
I saw the Divine one with Sonny Bono and Divine and everybody. I didn't see the second one.
Christopher Walken and John Travolta are phenomenal.
Okay, I might consider seeing it. Go on.
And again, the opening sequence owes a lot to the downtown sequence in Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh. Okay.
But for the most part, it took me a book from Janine Bassinger, who is one of my favorite contemporary writers on film, who wrote a wonderful book a couple years back called The Star System. It's a must-read for anybody who gives a shit about film.
Very interesting. Go on. Yeah.
Has published a book about the movie musical that made me rethink a lot of my feelings about them. I realized I like more of them than I thought, but that a lot of them I rejected because of their utter lack of narrative. And that, for example, I can't watch the Astaire Rogers pictures anymore.
That is very interesting. Go on.
It's over. Whereas I can watch chunks of them on YouTube and see bits and pieces. The same is true of the film version of Kiss Me Kate. You know, to get to see Ann Miller, that clumping locks, dancing with Bob Fosse, Bobby Van, and Tommy Ryle. It's fucking amazing. Okay, it really is. Okay, so yeah, but capes, masks, costumes.
No. I'm happy to stay on musicals for a while because honestly, first of all, Paul Stevens says Carousel was Ford McRae and Shirley Jones classic. So there you go. So and it's funny because I feel the way you do about modern film musicals, and like I said, I
wanted to punch La La Land in the face so much. Particularly after the opening sequence on the freeway, I actually whooped. I thought it was so fabulous. I loved it, and the rest of the movie hits the bed. It is just dreadful. I'm a huge fan of Emma Stone. But the minute when I saw her in Easy A, I said, "Holy Christ, this girl is the new thing. She's fantastic."
Yep.
And I love Ryan Gosling. I'm a fan of his since that where he played the yeshiva bucher, who's also a skinheaded Nazi, and the movie I hate the movie so much. It's like a bad knockoff of New York, with people with fewer specific talents required for the job.
That's one of the last modern film, and again, it's not modern; it's 50 years old or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed Liza and De Niro in New York. That's
we tried to watch it recently, and my wife could not bear the abusive nature of the De Niro character.
I understand. Yeah, but I'll tell you, old film musical. Well, the Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff I think is amazing. It's funny. Paul also says.
I know Paul just said good things about, and you're right. The that's entertainment stuff is the way to go. I'm not a fan of the film version of Carousel, whereas Carousel is likely it's neck and neck with Oklahoma for my favorite Rodgers and Hammerstein show. And I saw the most recent iteration, which never found traction, mostly because of the abusive nature of the relationship between Julie Jordan and Billy. That was an astonishing production, yet it found no traction at the same time when a grossly overpraised production of My Fair Lady, which adjusts the ending a bit to give it more of a feminist slant, was grossly overpraised. I thought Joshua Henry did an astonishing job as Billy Bigelow. And what's her name? Jessie Mueller, who I saw in the pie thing with the pastry show with Sarah Bareilles. My God, kill me now.
Really?
Oh yeah, and she was phenomenal. It was a great production. And the thing about that production of Carousel, I've seen 5 productions of it, and that production was the first one I saw that felt to me there was connecting tissue from its first production in 1945, tracing their way back to Oklahoma. Because I was born in 1950, and one of the aspects of the 1950s that people don't really think about or know about is the obsession with Americana, with 19th century Americana that was going on in the 1950s. It's one of the it accounts for the huge continued popularity of cowboy shows and westerns, and there was an enormous old Americana aspect to that life. I was a part of it. Any photographs of me of that time are in Davy Crockett outfits.
Sure.
And hold on, I have to respond to Mark Chiarello, who's complaining that I had to cancel my lunch.
Oh, okay, no problem, man. It's cool.
I'm sending him fucking Chiarello. Come on, Chiarello.
Come on, man. You guys, your solo issue that Mark was the editor on, fantastic issue. So no, it's cool. You can talk to Chiarello. Chiarello knows his Negro League baseball as well, which I always appreciate.
Mark is a god. He's fabulous. He's giving me shit.
Great taste.
fuck that guy. I didn't say that out loud, did I? That was my evil. I was Skippy.
Howard,
yeah.
I am happy to let the boat, take over in whatever direction we go in. This is fantastic.
Nudge me against the waves, John.
Honestly, wait, because
yeah, go ahead.
Commenting on what you just said about the Western craze of the 50s, there's a little movie that I had never seen before that starred Fred McMurray, and I forget the female lead, and I'm betting you know this movie. It's called Calloway Went That-A-Way, Howard Keel in the film. And I love that movie because essentially it's much like Hey Kids comics. I'll swing it back a little. It's kind of the Hopalong Cassidy story with a comedic bent where all of a sudden this old-time Cowboys movies are a hit on television and they can't find the real actor. So they find Howard Keel, who looks just like him in classic Hollywood bullshit. But I think it's a funny as hell movie. Jesse White steals every scene he's in. And it's amazing. I love that movie.
Howard Keel is one of the, again, one of those guys who's forgotten. I was talking about it with a pal of mine earlier. We were talking about the Friends of Eddie Coyle. And I meant that Richard Jordan seems to have vanished from the awareness scape, and Keel is the same. And the thing about Keel, I found out something recently about Keel that staggered me, okay, which is that in one instance, he was playing the lead, and I forget which shows they were. They were running. I think it might have been Oklahoma and Carousel. I forget which. He was playing Curly in one, and he was understudying Billy in the other. And in one day, he did a matinee in Oklahoma, and he did an evening performance as Billy.
Wow,
which, pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, that is absolutely. Good Lord, that is amazing. By the way, and
talk about a guy who looked like a superhero.
No shit. Yeah, who would because I say that about Clint Walker should have been Superman at some point in his career. Because good Lord, that man was just a monster of a man and really could have put the suit on. I think he would have been amazing. Who do you think Keel would have been?
Actually, Keel. I mean, Keel had a comic book chin. And I mean, Eisner always said that Garner would have been the perfect spirit, but Keel would have been a pretty good spirit too. He really would.
I like that.
And see, the problem with casting this stuff is that the edginess scrim has been so completely subsuming the comic book market that that in the same way that they gave Alec Baldwin a CGI nose to play Lamont Cranston as the show. That's just idiotic. And that that Batman is just I'm Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody just posted the cover of Detective introducing Robin.
Yes.
In my head, Batman is Dick Sprang.
I hear you. No, I love Dick Sprang's art.
Absolutely. I have to respond to. Give me just a second here. I'll be right back. Watch
no
me
problem. I'll acknowledge some of the comments so far and everything.
I'm writing. How dare you speak to me this way?
Haspel says, I can't wait for the issue of Hey Kids Comics that Howard devotes to my time. And I'm assuming that's, I guess the 70s or whatever, or the early 80s, assisting him and the upstart studio gang. I don't know if that's going to make it into Hey Kids Comics.
It's one of the note elements of the third volume. And it may very well end up in the, what I'm doing. All right. Issue 2 just came out.
Yes.
And there are characters who appear in issue 2 who become major players by issue 5 and 6. Okay. I mean, we first meet Ray, Benita, and Ted when they're 20 or 21. A number of the characters that we meet for the first time in Hey Kids, in the first issue, we meet characters who are 13 who become serious players by issue 3. And then there are characters who are introduced as children who by the end of by the end of the 6th issue arc, we're in 1980. And the third volume, God willing, the God I don't believe in willing, is going to be about fandom and about the 90s through the aughts, about the adjustment, about the evolution into IP. So hold on. Charles being
finish with Chirello. It's all good, man. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. You're killing me, and I love what we're talking about right now. Absolutely. And I'll I'll acknowledge a lot of people want to chime in with their thoughts on musicals.
Let's have it.
Are we good?
I'm in. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Greg McKeon says Sing Street, originally a movie, is going to be a Broadway thing. Was just going to be on Broadway when COVID hit. Any musicals that started movies that you enjoy?
I don't know. I'm curious about Sing Street because I like the franchise.
I like that movie too.
I do. And there. I mean, let me think. Well, I mean, I love Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, when I was in New York last in February of 20, and in the space of 3 days, we saw this a really jewel box production of Little Shop of Horrors that was based very much on the original off-Broadway production. That was derived from the original movie.
Right.
The next night we saw Moulin Rouge. Both of them profoundly cartoony. One in a kind of a very small jewel box sense, and the other in this massive, huge, overblown version. And then, of course, the Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, which is based on the Ealing Studios picture.
Was that? I was going to say American Psycho, but no, obviously.
No, that's it's based on Kind Hearts and Cornets.
Oh wow! Because Ealing, of course, British 50s classic, Alec Guinness,
and again, in that with Jefferson May playing the Alec Guinness part, playing all 7 parts.
Wow!
And it was phenomenal. I mean, it was just a great use of technology, and just a phenomenal piece of work. I've got tickets to see Mrs. Doubtfire in October. And in February, I'm seeing Company with Katarina Lenk.
Wow. I love, man.
I'm a huge fan of Katarina Lenk.
I'm a huge fan of Company, and that really hit me. High school is when I became aware of Company, about 16 years past the original cast.
Years ago, when I was working at Paramount, I met George, the guy who wrote the book for Sondheim.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, again, an awe moment. He's because Company is the great non-plot musical. It's just a series of vignettes.
Yes.
And there are elements of that. There are sensibilities derived from the specific numbers that make me a little weepy in a weird sort of way.
Have you met Crystal Skillman, who's married to? Okay, great. Because I was going to say, good Lord, I would imagine you guys just go off in a corner.
I've seen Fred since, but I haven't seen Crystal since I did the Supercon in London a couple of years ago. And,
okay.
My wife and I took Crystal and Fred to a restaurant around the corner from the XL Center that was just absolutely nuts. I mean, a phenomenal Italian joint in this area that we ate at regularly while we were there.
We should do one of these, and literally, I just want to sit and watch you and Crystal talk stage, because I know you can, and just go over the stuff, because I am constantly fascinated by the period. I keep wanting you, honestly, Howard. I'm going to bug you about this, and I know you're in the midst of Hey Kids comics, and I'm sure you.
Hey Kids volume 2, 1 through 6 has been finished for months. I'm working right now on brand new shit.
Okay, that's good to hear.
I'm drawing the sequel. I've written, and I'm in the process of drawing the sequel to Marked Man for a new website called Neotext.
Yes, great.
I'm working on a new series in collaboration with a colleague of mine who I love working with, which I can't talk about. And I'm about 6 pages away from finishing a very rough dialogue pass at the sequel to Divided States of Hysteria, because I haven't pissed off enough people this year.
Good.
So,
good to hear, man. That's excellent. But like I was going to say, I really want to see you do kind of a Hey Kids thing on the history of Broadway, because I would love to see you do that.
I've been for years. I mean, years ago when Elvis Mitchell was still was working at the Herald Examiner,
the
weekly, and the Herrex. We talked about doing a weekly strip for the weekly about jazz anecdota, and it never really got anywhere, because it really is. It's so niche a market. It was just so tiny. And let's face it, Hey Kids Comics is not reaching an audience of any real volume, because let's face it. I mean, I'm working for a marketplace of an audience that doesn't really exist.
Well, but Howard, you're enough of a brand, to put it craftly.
but I'm a brand that reaches a very, very, very tiny part of the audience.
Well, and I guess, but my point is, and what I've noticed in the COVID year is the people going to other platforms beyond the direct market with their stuff. And I'm really glad to hear that you're doing more with Neotext because, in fact, I did a panel for San Diego for July, pre-recorded, and had Chloe back, and you and I and Mafood and Chloe and a couple others did it last year, and we did a new panel. I was kind of bummed that I didn't see you on there, but yeah, I mean, I really believe in what Neotext is doing.
Supposed to be there, and I forgot.
Oh, okay, man. Well, shit happens.
I mean, I'm serious. I just lost my shit. I have no excuses. You know.
No worries, man. Well, we talked in general about Neotext, but that's the thing, man. I just think you're enough of a brand that you could gather your audience and do like a panel syndicate or someplace else.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't have. I lack that footprint. I mean, I have a moral loyalty, I have a social loyalty, but I don't have a commercial loyalty.
That's interesting.
The fact is, I'm easily forgotten. I mean, someone pointed out that they were grateful that I haven't left comics behind, and I pointed out, but comics has left me behind. I mean, I say this more than once, and I say with utter conviction, I embarrass institutional comics fandom. The very fact that institutional comics fandom's obsessions. I mean, I have such benign contempt for the taste of such a vast majority of the people who buy comics in this country. It's astonishing to me. The pablum that they're willing to accept, the fake gravitas slathered on in the name of enormity. I mean, all this bullshit about Batman giving Catwoman head.
I know.
I know. Honestly, I mean, you're talking about a 15-year-old boy's idea of what a rich guy who had a bad day when he was 8 would do. And I mean, I was solicited to write the introduction to the trade paperback edition of the Batman Has a Dick book a couple of years ago.
Batman Damned, the Azzarello book?
I don't know what it was called. And the assumption that I would have been aware of the material, and I wasn't. I'd never seen it. I'm not interested in seeing a picture of a man dressed in a Batman costume showing me his penis. And that I would care enough to write about this sort of stuff. It's kind of like when I work with other people as writers, and they write at me as opposed to with me and for me. I'm intrigued and fascinated by the assumptions that are made about my own sensibilities and how I approach the material. And I'm now very cautious about working with other people as talent. There are two people that I will always work with at the drop of a hat. I'll work with Mark Waid and I'll work with Mark Guggenheim. Because their shot calling is very different from my own. I understand it intellectually and spiritually, and it makes sense to me. Very few other writers that I've seen working professionally have that particular skill set. It's not even a matter, in many cases, it's a matter of not having a grasp whatsoever of the real estate of the page. But in many cases, it's a missing of the structural pattern that's called for by the page itself. And my obsessions, my interests, my concerns in comics have absolutely nothing to do with the content. One of the crimes that's been committed against comics was that the Comics Code Authority not only infantilized the product, but infantilized the audience and drove away people who had any real interest in anything challenging. And what was left were people who liked the chuckleheadedness of superhero comic books and teenage comic books and romance comic books. And then romance comic books were driven away because the guys who came in and replaced the rapidly dying first staffs were misogynists and incapable of getting laid in the first place and didn't understand women. And the idea of hiring a woman to run, I mean, the condescension with which Dorothy Woolfolk was treated at DC Comics is shocking to me. The very fact that it was her staff that Stan pirated over to make the bullpen out of is a story unto itself. And
Ramita and people like that were drawing romance comics before they were working at Marvel. Yeah.
And the fact is, Hey Kids Hey Kids Comics represents a romance comic sensibility and a newspaper comic strip sensibility that is excellent and separate from anything else. And what you now have are men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who continue to be entertained and embrace. Thank you, John. Embrace the sort of material that entertained them when they were children, and the companies patronize and pander to that by creating narrative of these 15-year-old boys' ideas, wish dreams, and adolescent power fantasies that have been made palatable for emotionally stunted old men. Just a thought,
Just a thought. It's cool. No, and Howard, I want to
go right back to the beginning of the conversation about who would Howard Keel play as a superhero. It's the fun aspect of this material has been sucked dry from it. Somebody posted a photograph of Daniel Close on Facebook a couple of days ago, and I've met Daniel once, and clearly he had told me utter contempt. Seriously, I'm not being facetious. He looked at me like I was a talking dog, and the photograph looks like he's waiting for someone to show up in the room so they can suck the life out of it. And the self-seriousness that exists in this material, and the self-mythologizing that the audience buys into and eats up with a spoon and takes at face value, is condemnation enough. I'm sorry. It just
no. Don't be again. We come to hear your thoughts, and this is all good stuff to contemplate. Here it is. Okay. I got to because I found a picture that you put up a couple weeks ago, and I dubbed it Chaykin class photo, and I want to bring it up now. I'll find it.
Is this going to piss me off or shame me?
Oh, you're the one who posted it. I thought you were the one who posted it.
I hate being reminded of shit I did last week.
You're killing me. Hold on. I'm going to find it.
Wait a minute.
All right, and while I'm doing that, also, I think you sell your audience short. Hold on. Here's a new comment. While I'm posting the thing here. Oh, I just watched a John Romita interview with Graham Nolan from a few months ago, and he was Schmuggy and Bimbo. It's not Schmucky, it's Schmuggy and Bimbo, I believe. Yeah, what's up with that? Is that still going to happen?
Yes.
Great.
My end of it is done. I finished. Fucking John, man.
Okay.
And by the way, for those of you, none of you have seen this. When I tell you it's the best work he's done in 25 years, I'm not being grandiose or bullshit based. It's astonishing work.
Well, I'm assuming it's going to be like a Brooklyn Happen Leonard.
It in a weird sort of way, but if you can imagine a synthesis of what you've seen of Romita before, with almost taking elements of John Buscema and combining it with Botero. There's a sense of volume and form and pleasure in this work that is staggering. It's just amazing.
That's awesome to hear. All right, I found the photo. Here it is. I love this. This is fantastic. So, can you tell us who both rows? I see Eisner up there.
Yeah, there's Eisner, Gil Shelton. I forget. I don't know whose head is popping between Eisner and Shelton. That's okay. Kubert, me, and then there's Lee Falk. The rest of the guys are and Annie Getzinger is the woman in the lower aisle, and the hand on the far left belongs to Jesus Blasco, and Ehrman is there in the striped shirt. And as I said on the post, I said this was taken about an hour after Eisner accused me of being a fascist, and 10 minutes after I'd offered Kubert $10 to kick his ass.
Who'd you say is in the striped shirt in the bottom row?
That's Ehrman, the guy who did Jeremiah.
Oh, okay. And yeah, I love this. No, and again, I do. Yes,
Barcelona 89 or 90, I forget which.
That's awesome. And Lee Falk, that's fantastic.
Well, as I've said more than once, when I used to go to conventions as a younger man, I'd run into Lee Falk. He was the old guy. Now I'm Lee Falk. Hold on a second.
Go for it. It's all good, man. Too funny. Tell me that's. Look at that picture, man, everybody. I just love this photo. And this is an excuse, audio audience, to go and make sure that you watch the video at about 35 minutes in, and you will see that photo. It's pretty cool.
And what's great about that photo was I was actually still fuckable in those days. I was 39 years old. 30 fucking 9. Can you dig it? Oh my god. I was a libertine and a dissipate, you know.
Dean wants to know, Haspiel, I love Howard's essays. Will there be an eventual book collection?
Only if you publish it.
You know, I'm really glad that that one university press put out all these articles and interviews you had done over the years.
Oh, I think Brandon Costello, speaking of Costello and Costello, Brandon Costello must have lost a bet. He got stuck with me. And he's done, you know, two books that enhance my ego to a profound degree. You know, I'm always willing to mistake attention for affection. Aristides tells me that my insights are needed and essential to comics. Don't tell anybody that, because it'll only piss them off even more. Please.
Yeah, and Paul agrees. And conversation is great. Yes.
I annoy the fuck out of people. It's astonishing to me. And I'm like, I'm an old guy. I mean, I'm 70 and a half. You know, I'm, as I said to someone recently, I'm no longer interested in yelling to people to get off my lawn. I'm simply inviting them to get under it. You know.
Well, all I could say is, again, I agree with everybody here. And also, again, people judge without really going into it. Divided States of Hysteria is a classic example of that. And, you know, the things that you're accused of being.
I mean, that kind of censorious ignorance continues.
Oh, I believe it. I absolutely believe it.
I mean, anecdotally, a pal of mine was asked recently who found out another colleague of his found out that we were friends. He said, "But isn't Howard Chaykin some kind of right-wing nutcase?" I mean, where the fuck? I mean, the psychic powers these people to get shit wrong is staggering to me. I really am. I'm in awe of people's utter, complete commitment to willful ignorance.
Well, they see a controversial cover, and they judge it all by that.
Controversial means nothing. Controversial is not an inviolable absolute. Controversial is a plastic and deeply kinetic idea. I mean, let's face it. The liberation of women, civil rights, gay marriage. These were all controversial ideas in your fucking lifetime, John.
Yes.
Be real, you know.
No, I'm with you, man.
I mean, and now this new phrase, accountability. To fucking whom? Who is the gatekeeper? Who is the authority to whom accountability is owed?
I'm with you, man.
Please.
Now back on musicals for a second, because I meant to say this when we were discussing.
You're getting away with it.
And it's true but the way they've tweaked various stage plays and musicals of late, I'm really of two minds of that, and I kind of.
In what sense?
Well, I'm like, you know, let it be what it was, and I got no problem with in the program. Hey, this was in the 30s. I mean, I'm not for going back to Holiday Inn, the Bing Crosby movie, where you got the minstrel or White Christmas for that matter.
What are you talking about? The trigger warnings on AMs on TCM now?
Well, those I don't mind. I don't mind those at all. No, but I'm saying literally, as you were saying about some of the stuff. Like that they rewrote My Fair Lady to be a little more feminist at the end. Things like that. I don't know, man. I'm just like.
Well, I watched every episode of Bridgerton because I'm married, okay? And I liked it. I thought it was perfectly fine because it was packed with English actors I really like watching work, you know, and all that stuff.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm okay with Bridgerton because it's something original and new. Or isn't it? Or is it, pardon me, is it based on Bronte?
I mean, Broadway, Broadway has you know, since a production of Carousel that came over from the UK, you know, cross racial casting has been something that I have no. It's perfectly fine.
I'm totally fine with that. I mean, that's how I mean.
I saw a production of a jukebox show called Prince of Broadway, in which Chuck Cooper, who was a black actor who was close to my age, did a phenomenal turn as Tevye. You know. Well, who cares? I'm not talking about racial casting here. Paul's got a good example. Like Kiss Me Kate has issues with what I'm talking about, like the spanking scene, or you know. And I didn't know, Jack. I didn't realize that
Bridgerton is based on a series of novels. But again,
by the way, the married part is because my wife has read all those novels.
okay.
So she knows the work pretty well. But there was a production of Kiss Me Kate recently with Kelly O'Hara, and my problem with it remains that that Lily Suter is so underwritten, consistently underwritten. The book that was used for this particular iteration, I forget who played oh God, Lily and what's Fred played Fred.
Okay.
Fred was the guy who played the Joe DiMaggio part on Smash. The problem with Kiss Me Kate is the book they use is the one that was done with Marin Mazzie and Brian Stokes Mitchell about 20 years ago. And they've changed the character from a Texas oil man who has no context contemporaneously to a military man. And the character remains miserably underwritten and frequently overacted. But again, Kiss Me Kate is, a perfect example of that kind of like adjustment. So I don't know. And oddly enough, I find it, when I see this sort of thing, I recognize the fact that it's comparable to every fucking corporation on the planet jumping on the Pride Parade. That there's a sense of a performative morality built into the presentation, if not the action, of an adjustment of behavior, and it's sort of like it's comparable to self-mythologizing that goes on among so many of my colleagues in comics. It's like a race to be the world's tallest midget. It's too much effort invested in not much value.
I understand. I
could be.
I was looking for another.
I must have really pissed Jarella off because he has not responded to all my apologies. He's angry at me. I'm gonna have to call and do some suck. Thank you, Paul. It was Will Chase. That's right. Did you see that, Paul? Did you see that revival? Did it get over to the UK?
Well, we'll find out when he pops in. And and Gregory disagrees with me. He says the theater, both plays and musicals, had a long history of alterations and placidity. They've always been interpretations. Okay.
Again, it's certainly true in theater predominantly. It's always been. I mean, look, we just recently saw Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, and what I found fascinating about it was that it's if you're familiar with it all, it's everything that happens in the play outside and it's separate from what's going on with Hamlet and Gertrude and Claudius, and the player. The only speaking member of the theater of the traveling players is the leader, the player king, who is played by Richard Dreyfuss. All the other actors are male actors, including two playing women, who are Hungarian because the show was shot in Hungary.
Wow. Oh, okay, go on.
And it reminded me of that picture a couple of years ago with Billy Crudup, who played a major stage actress in Elizabethan England, working for the king's players. As playing women's roles.
Sure.
And it's just the nature of the beast. I mean, I'm okay with that. But I like a little bit of realism and honesty built into the choices made as to why those choices were made in the first place. There's a wonderful sequence in the Hulu production of Das Boot, which is a 6-episode series. It's really worth seeing, where a guy who I knew from Game of Thrones, who played the Assassin's Creed guy who trained Arya how to be a swordswoman, plays a very, very silky SS officer operating out of a submarine pen in France, who is obsessed with Sigmund Freud, who discusses Freud in a way that I found fascinating, that he completely absorbs and adores the theories of psychoanalysis as evinced by Freud. But he's delighted by the fact that in 2 generations, people will forget Freud as a Jew, and that his theories and his ideas will exist, but the Judaic origins of it will have vanished into the ether with the victory of the Third Reich. And I found that interesting. I'm reading a book called Jews Don't Count right now by David Badiou. which talks about the cultural appropriation of food, and that the hostility ranging back and forth in writing about food between white chefs appropriating various ethnic cuisines, and yet the absorption of Jewish cuisine and Jewish culture is never acknowledged or mentioned as in the nature of the world. I love the fact that the world is made up of anti-Semites and Jew-baiters loving their bagels. There's something beautiful in that.
I'm totally with you. Paul Stevens says that that play didn't come over, so unfortunately, but
it was a great production, mostly because of Chaykin O'Hara. The rest of the show, the people who played Lois and Bill were really second rate. Particularly Lois. Lois was terrible.
Do you have that streaming service on Broadway or whatever it's called where
but again, it doesn't work on TV. Oddly enough, the Raul Esparza production of Company, which I saw on stage, felt architecturally dislocated on stage and yet worked really well on video. I've tried to watch stuff on video and have been generally disappointed.
I'm with you because I want that feeling as well. In fact, it's funny, Howard. We're wrapping up, and this part you're not going to care about, but I am interested on the second half. Gabe Hardman and I are wrapping up this look at the original Outer Limits television series. We're literally 2 weeks away from wrapping up from the second season. Our next thing we want to look at are we're calling it Kinescope, and we really want to look at the live anthology shows of the 50s.
I love so much of that material. I've been trying to find the live television version of Big Hand for a Little Lady with Walter Matthau in the Henry Fonda part. I've not been able to find it.
Wow.
You didn't know it existed, did you?
Did not know it existed. I know the movie.
I found this out by accident. Okay. For example.
I'll be right back.
Okay, honey. I love that world. Actually, I lent my assistant a collection of just those. A box set of the TV productions that ultimately, many of which ended up as features. Marty, Bang the Drum Slowly, Days of Wine and Roses, The Comedian.
Yep.
And that stuff and the Kovacs stuff, to me, and actually, thirdly, the Steve Allen stuff, because Steve Allen died leaving a very bad taste in the mouths and hearts of people, and is unjustly forgotten for being one of the great visionaries of television. I don't believe that anything that David Letterman or Jimmy Fallon have ever done that did not derive from Allen's hysteria. Kovacs gets a lot of the attention, but Allen had a detached cool that Kovacs did not have.
Letterman always acknowledges the Steve Allen influence. Yes, he really did.
So much of my sensibility derives from a conflation of Jack Douglas and Steve Allen. My brother's an only child. Never trust a naked bus driver. That stuff so informs me completely, and of course, it makes me an outlier because people are, my first experience with the concept of clapter came when I watched the first episode of Saturday Night Live. A colleague of mine who I wouldn't consider a friend was over the house who kept saying that's funny, and I didn't understand how you could respond to something as being amusing and acknowledge its amusement as opposed to react to it biologically. It was a learned experience.
That's interesting because honestly, sometimes, especially when a friend is like, hey, what do you think of this? Is it funny? I will read it, and in my mind, I'll laugh, but I won't laugh out loud, and I'll be like, oh no, that's good. Yeah, that's good. And literally we'll have this kind of sergeant face on it, like, yeah, all right, this is good. What else? Keep going.
Look, I'm a tough audience, but I lose my shit every now and then and get completely subsumed by it. As
we saw from the Ironside reaction, I was very happy about that.
That killed me.
No, but and it's fun. Now, okay, you feel that way about SNL.
Speaking of Raymond, all I want to see is Rod Steiger from The Big Knife show up on the set of Rear Window and beat Raymond Burr up. And
I just for the first time saw The Big Knife like three months ago. God damn, I love that movie.
Burr in that picture. Come on.
What a great What a great movie! I love that movie. I think that's an amazing movie.
It's Odette's at its late Odettiest.
Well, just the weirdness of
Robert Aldrich, for Christ's sake,
Yep. No, I absolutely. So, but what did you think of? And I don't know how if you listened to this back in the day, the precursor to SNL, the National Lampoon Radio Hour. Did you like that?
I'm aware of it. I didn't love a lot of it.
Okay.
Whereas I do love. I have to say the Al Jolson stuff just kills me. Lou, Irving, I need a dog.
I was just listening to an old Jack Benny episode, and Mel Blanc was doing his Al Jolson, and that's all he really did.
Well, I was talking about watching the Dick Clark show. I watched the Dick Clark show with my mother because she was a huge fan of Jackie Wilson, and one of the reasons she was a fan of Jackie Wilson because Wilson was a huge fan of Jolson. Wilson.
I had no idea. Wow.
Wilson recorded 3 albums of Jolson stuff. Lonely Teardrops, Mama. It's just
No, I can hear it now. You're right. That's really, really interesting. Wow,
an enormous influence. In the same way that for all the discussion of cross-cultural appropriation, Ella Fitzgerald always pointed at Connie Boswell as her primary influence. In the same way that you can't have the Woody Herman Orchestra without acknowledging the existence of the Count Basie Band.
That's cool. There you go. Exactly.
We've covered a lot of ground here today, man.
Howard, I always want the reading and listening and watching list from you whenever we talk. So this is all good.
Speaking of those kinescopes, have you seen the original production of Days of Wine and Roses?
Not yet. No, but I have. I've seen The Comedian. I've seen the original 12 Angry Men. Of course, I've seen Marty. I have that Criterion set.
It's a great set. Watch the Days of Wine and Roses is so grim and so dark, so much darker than the film. And Robertson is astonishing.
Is Piper? Yeah, Piper Laurie is the wife, and Cliff Robertson is the husband.
The film is a gloss. The TV version is him doing a 45-minute pitch in an AA meeting. It's phenomenal.
All right. Now that intrigues me. When Revolutionary Road came out, I can hear my echo. You'll forgive me. I'm not sure why, but I really felt that movie Revolutionary Road was kind of their version of Days of Wine and Roses without the alcoholism.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here, John. Gregory. What, we have one more? We
got more. Unless you got to go. I was going to say, Gregory is acknowledging Steve Allen was a genius.
I couldn't agree more, Gregory. Absolutely. At the end of his life, he'd become kind of an annoying scold. But there's, the very fact that he created the careers of Louis Nye, Tom Poston, and Don Knotts.
Yes.
That he popularized Jack Kerouac. That he got Lenny Bruce out there. And if you haven't seen the YouTube of him and Stephen Eady and Dinah Shore singing "This Could Be the Start of Something Big" as they walk through the studio in Burbank, it'll kill you.
Wow.
It's great.
I haven't seen that. I know you're with the song album.
You have to watch it on a small screen because it's incredibly grainy. But it's just, and everybody, Frank Sinatra shows up. It's a walking camera. Technically, it's 1957 or 58. Technically, it's crude, but they managed to make the best of what they can do. And, Christ, Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross were regulars on the show. What more can you ask? It was the hippest show in television.
I hear you, Ed. Contextually, absolutely.
I know to Alan, and I know to Jack Douglas. My mother running around in the middle of the night with dating men left me alone, so I ended up watching the Jack Parr show. So I got to listen to Alexander King, Genevieve,
yes,
Dodie, Jonathan.
Yes.
And just this
John Winters, absolutely. Jonathan Winters, absolutely.
I was 10 years old, for Christ's sake, and listening to this shit. No wonder I became the person I became.
But again, that spontaneity that both Allen and Parr had, you're right. It was really an exciting, inventive time. And what was I going to ask regarding all that? Well, I'm glad you're intrigued by the kinescopes. We might pull you in for
absolutely. That shit, I love that. Again, I would kill to find someone who's got a copy of that Big Hand for the Little Lady.
I get it. Well,
because one of the things that's happened in the lockdown is my wife has never seen anything. Okay, she did not grow up watching television or movies or anything. Okay, and we've watched well over 400 movies in the lockdown because she's not interested in television. She watches movies.
Sure.
And a lot of it, I mean, I'd say 1 in 10 of one that I've seen already, as I said, but the rest of it is all new to it. You know, it's just like brand new to her. I mean, I showed her Casablanca for the first time, Citizen Kane, Robin Hood, It Happened One Night, all of Sturgis, all of Ford. We're about to embark on a Frankenheimer experience. Right?
Fantastic. Speaking of kinescopes and early TV.
Obviously
the comedian.
We watched 7 Days in May a couple of days ago.
Great movie.
And when you watch 7 Days in May, you can really get a sense of this guy, like Lumet, got all of his shit from TV. You know, his camera angles are such that they're almost all here at breastbone, so that you get a sense of an almost intrusive and voyeuristic sense of picture making. About a year or so ago, a guy posted on Facebook a picture of a still shot from Hitchcock with deep focus, and they said nobody does this in movies anymore. And I said I do. Comic books guys do it all the time, you know. And we are the repositories of that kind of lost technique to a profound degree. And just to close, fuck La La Land, really, you know.
Did you listen to? I sent you the links to the Humphrey Bogart Friars roast.
I've got it. One of the problems these past couple of weeks.
Don't worry about it.
It's enormous distraction. I'm working on too many things. I had a really stupid, misjudged based accident on Friday driving home from Northern California.
Oh shit!
Yeah, no problem at all. Costing me a fucking arm and a leg. You know, because it's a modern vehicle, right? You know, it's just obscene the amount of money it is going to be. And I'm angry. I'm distracted. I'm pissed off at this, and just like all sorts of nonsense. You know,
I understand.
Grandchildren graduating, being old, being annoyed, being cranky, and pissing off Chirello. You know, there's so many things. You know,
being alive.
Being alive. Yes, you know. and again, seeing Katerina Lenk and Patty LuPone. What the fuck? Yeah, you know.
Greg wants to know any updates on Times Squared.
It's done. It is complete. We have a scheduled publication date. We're going to be out in winter of 2022.
Awesome.
The book has been delivered. It's done. It'll be an omnibus, all 3 volumes, plus the Flag Splash special, plus a shitload of back matter, some of which has never been seen before, most of which has never been seen before. Some new stuff. And that's the deal. Buy Hey Kids Comics. Issue 3 will be out in a month. That's my deal. I mean, I'm hoping to God that I'll live long enough to get that 3rd volume done. The 3rd volume is subtitled Schlock of the New, and we'll see, which is a reference to what's his name, to Robert Hughes. Robert Hughes, the art critic.
Okay.
You know, so.
Any word on Sunshine Patriots? Asks Jack.
It's done. And it's the stasis that it's in is almost comical in its shamelessness. We'll find it'll be out there sooner or later, but it's been done for a long time.
Good to hear.
You know, but then again, you know, it's part and parcel of the fact that for a guy with my backstory, my CV, and my reputation, so little of my actual old work it remains in print. Mostly because, as I've said earlier in my insulting observations and remarks about superhero comic books, they don't fit into the niche which can be identified and pigeonholed. No one knows quite what to make of me. I'm too weird for the mainstream, and I'm too mainstream for the weird. You know, I've always assumed there are more people out there like me than there are. I'm constantly dismayed to find out how many people are satisfied by the junk they're satisfied by. Some of you should be ashamed of yourself and don't tell me about it.
But I'll tell you,
I no longer wonder why people hate me. I know full well why people hate me. It's okay.
Yeah, whatever. All I know is whenever you're, writing one of your essays, even on Facebook, it's not an essay, but it's longer than most posts and stuff. I'm hanging on every word. I follow it. I know a lot of other people do as well. Well, there you go. And Paul says that's why we love you, man.
I'm the Archbishop of Fun, as I've said more than once.
No question.
Paul, I certainly hope that the day will come where I will see you again. I'm dying to get over to the fucking UK. You know, we have not been overseas since 19.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm getting on my first plane in August.
I was going to ask, Howard, where, are you going to do any shows?
I'm doing Chris's Planet Comics show in the Planet Convention in Kansas City, one of my favorite cities, as much as anything else, because there's Arthur Bryant's is there. Arthur Bryant's in the Kansas City Convention. What can I do? I'm going to do the Portland show in September, Rose City.
Okay, Rose City.
I'll be in Baltimore in October.
Great. Someone had asked earlier. That's great. I hope I'm in Baltimore. I'm one of the. Likewise, man. Absolutely, that.
A great show in a great town. And if Dean, you're still there, we are on for dinner on Thursday night as ever. And November, I'll be in one of Mark Walter's shows in Dallas. Again, I love Mark, and I love the Dallas shows that Mark puts on. And I'll be, Texas. Texas has always been that other place that I went to. Dean, you're going to be there. Good man. So we got to get absolutely
dinner for sure, says Dean. Absolutely.
It's become an accidental tradition that Thursday night before the Baltimore show, Dean and I end up running a group of people for a cheapo dinner, and which basically consists of talking shit about anybody who's not there, and it's good. It's good. So, it will be lovely to see my boy Dean. And it'll be cool enough so you have to put on a shirt.
Dean is very comfortable shirtless, isn't he?
Look, I mean, I've known Dean since he was 16. I keep reminding myself now that Dean is now in AARP country, which is really
yes, he is.
Friends don't like AARP.
That's hilarious.
Don't do it. They make you feel old and stupid.
Really? No, the early bird specials aren't worth it. The coupons aren't worth it.
Don't even get me started. I'm used to eating at 8:00 at night, and my wife did dinner at 6.
That's good. At least 6, not 4. Like the other people your age. Right?
Special Wolfies. Ugh. And I'd like some more hot water for my tea. Thank you, Shirley. I think.
Come on. This is too hot. Give me a couple ice cubes. Let me cool this coffee off.
Word to your mother. As the people out there, my eyes once said.
Are we done? Do you want to go? I
have to piss, pal.
I relate. All right, go.
I'd rather not have you sitting, waiting, and listening while I'm in the other room.
No, we don't want you to be like Monty Woolley, and apparently he had an issue. See, I know my guy. Come on, man. We've been talking long enough. I know you know this shit. Absolutely, you're killing me, man.
Monty Woolley references are always a high point of my day. There you go. Not Monty Wall.
All right, next time I want to talk about Morris Levy and his influence over the rock world. And I know
Boyland.
I've been real fast. I've been buying these old albums called Co-Star. Where do you know these albums? Of course you do. God bless you, Howard. I am so fascinated. I got one with Burgess Meredith, one with George Raft, one with Pearl Bailey.
The Levy stuff. There's a mosaic collection of Count Basie live recordings, and some of the stuff is from the breakfast shows at the Eden Rock Hotel in Florida. So you're listening to the band at 4:00 in the morning, playing for an audience that is so fucked up and drunk eating breakfast. That it's just, what the fuck are those poor guys being put through?
That's awesome. That's like that Buddy Rich, Sammy Davis, Las Vegas album. I love that album.
After Harlan died, I told everybody it was time to reinvent the Buddy Rich joke.
What's the Buddy
Rich joke?
Yeah.
You don't know the Buddy Rich joke?
No.
All right, I'll close with this. All right.
Yeah.
Buddy dies.
Okay.
And his wife sitting there sitting shiva with his wife, and the phone rings. Hello? Hi, is Buddy there? No, Buddy's dead. Oh, I'm sorry. 5 minutes later, the phone rings. Hello? Hi, can I talk to Buddy? Buddy's dead. 5 minutes later, the phone rings. Hello? Hey, Buddy, please. This is the same guy. I told you, Buddy's dead. And he says, I know, but I just love hearing it.
Very nice. Go pee. I don't want to keep you. I won't even.
Absolute pleasure. Been great talking to you.
You know it, Howard, and I won't even make you stick around for the post video talk. So no, go ahead.
Give Ironside my love. We'll talk soon. I'm out. Thanks,
buddy. Howard Chaykin, everybody. Wasn't that fantastic? That's exactly what I was hoping for today. So All right, we look forward to Hey Kids Comics. Man, he is gone, and that's good. I don't want him to hold it in. That's not Tex Avery, as we all know, did that, and his processing what you need to do in the bathroom shut down, and he needed a colostomy bag because he held it in. I don't want to see that happen to Howard. Hey Kids Comics, that's issue 1 of volume 2. Issue 2, there you go. It is out now. It came out last week. Issue 3 next month. Very, very excited. Everybody, thank you very much. Jack, thank you. Everybody's laughing. Paul, great hour. I appreciate that, man. It's going to be a great week on Word Balloon. Ron Friends is joining me tomorrow night. That should be terrific. He's got a brand new project he's working on with Sal Buscema and also, Roger Stern. I had to think for a second. But that's going to be tomorrow. To the Outer Limits will be Thursday, and I cannot wait to tell Gabe that Howard would be interested in joining us on an episode of this Kinescope thing that we're coming on. Thank you, Dean. Great to always. I always appreciate when you've got our attention, and then the same thing, Gregory. I appreciate that. That's very nice. If I make Howard, thank you, Warren. That's very kind. If I make Howard laugh, I always feel like mission accomplished because I have, as you all know, I have tremendous respect for Howard. I love everything he does, and he teaches me so much in terms of recommended reading, recommended listening, recommended viewing. So this was terrific. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Stay safe. Stay happy.